Welcome to Inside the Thunder. I'm KD Hudnall, and on this show, I go one-on-one with some of the most recognizable names in Marshall athletics history. He was the number one tackler for the Herd in 2017 and 2018. He ranks number 20 on the all-time tackles list at Marshall, a second-team All-Conference USA selection in 2017, and an honorable mention selection in 2018. I call him Mr. Consistency. Today, we're going inside the Thunder with Beckley, West Virginia's own Chase Hancock. When you think about Conference USA Herd football and the defenses that were put on the field during that time, very few players, particularly at the linebacker position, come to mind that had higher production levels and were more fun to watch than who joins me now on Inside the Thunder, Mr. Chase Hancock. Chase, thank you for taking the time, sitting down. We're going to chop it up a little bit and have us a good time. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Man, this is really cool for me on a number of different levels, I must say. We get to talk about some more recent Herd football. We get to relive some of the Conference USA stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the Sun Belt stuff maybe even, but the best place to start is at the beginning, right? And you're coming out of high school. You're Woodrow Wilson High School, Beckley kid, local guy. And how? I mean, I usually ask people, how does Marshall get on your radar? But that really doesn't make sense for an in-state guy to say, how does Marshall get on your radar? Everybody in West Virginia knows about Marshall. What makes you end up at Marshall? How do you end up at Marshall?
Well, it's funny you said that because Marshall really wasn't on my radar.
What?
Yeah, man. I hated Marshall growing up.
Dang.
I really did. I was a West Virginia fan. My brother, Noah, he was the Marshall guy. So whenever we played like NCAA or something on the video game, I was always West Virginia. He was always Marshall. And, we went to like a Marshall game once when I was younger. And I enjoyed it, but yeah, like you said, coming out of high school, I had some D2 offers. My number one D2 offer was University of Charleston.
Okay.
Then we had Concord. We had West Virginia State. Shepherd had taken some interest in me, and then my main focus was on West Virginia. They had offered me a preferred walk-on, so I had taken most of my visits, or two of my visits, or how many ever, I don't know. Most of my visits to West Virginia. And then Marshall was my last visit. So before Marshall, I had gone to University of Charleston, and they were offering me a scholarship, and a lot of the other D2 schools, West Virginia State, Concord, they were offering me full rides. And so I'm the oldest, and I knew that my mom wouldn't be able to pay for all of us to go to college. So I got that weight on my shoulders. I'm trying to, pick the right school, find a place, where I'm supposed to be. So I took all that into consideration, and I just been praying for like a sign from God to, kind of show me where I was supposed to be. And so I went on my visit to University of Charleston. Then on my last visit, I went to my last visit was at Marshall. And so, I get there. They take you through the whole recruiting experience and everything. You eat. They give you the little lanyard and all that. You're meeting people, shaking people's hands. I can't remember who we played, but I just remember it being kind of cold. And I walked out on the field, and I saw Leggett. So A.J. Leggett was playing. So I saw him kind of, running away from me towards the far end zone. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's a cool name. And I'm just looking around, like taking it all in. And, people are shaking my hand, and, oh, so we've heard so much about you. You're Chase Hancock. Like, we've heard so much about you. Welcome to Marshall. And like, just people coming up and shaking my hand and all that. And my mom was kind of talking to some of the fans and some of the admin. And I was just kind of standing there in the corner of the end zone and just watching the guys warm up. And my hands started to get sweaty. And I hadn't had that any of the other recruiting visits or any of the other games that I've been to. And that was kind of like my sign, like, okay, Lord, I hear you. You're giving me the sign that I've been praying for. So my hands got sweaty. And then we went up into the stand, sat there and watched. And It felt good. It felt at home. And I just looked over at my mom and I was like, Mom, that's gonna be me down there one day. And she said, Oh yeah. And I was like, Yeah, that's gonna be me. So that's kind of when I knew that Marshall was a school for me. But it's funny that I ended up there because I did not like Marshall. I was all about West Virginia. I had gone on those 2 visits, and I didn't really get the feel or the sign from from God like I wanted. I felt like just a number, and I'm sure anybody can say that about any school they go to. I'm not talking
Hmm.
down on West Virginia or anything, but I just felt like a number. They had a bunch of recruits over in one section, and then they were mainly focused on these other 2 recruits or something. So all their attention was over there on those 2 guys. So I kind of felt like kind of left out. But that's okay. I mean, I think I still could have played at West Virginia, and been a contributor and maybe an all conference player or something like that. But that's how I ended up at Marshall.
So that's the first similarity that we have, because I come out of high school and Marshall's not on my radar either. I mean, I'd heard of them, but I had no plans to go there. And my story is much quicker. Let me tell you how I ended up at Marshall. One, they had the major that I thought I wanted. It's not the one I ended up with. And number two, their football team was really good. And I was like, well, this will be something fun to do on Saturdays. And that's what got me to Marshall. So we were talking about that a little bit before I hit the record button of, I'm a Mac era guy. That was my time. So there's a lot of winning there. And then the transition to the Conference USA came, and it was a little different. There was losses came a little bit more frequently. And then we had an uptick, and it just happened to be when you showed up on campus, 2014. We win the conference. Now, you were a walk-on, is what you're telling me.
I was a walk on. Yeah, prefer walk on.
Wow. So that begins this great Marshall story, right? Because it's a local issue, in-state kid, walk on, who by the end of his career is an all-conference performer with 2 of the most productive seasons from a linebacker that Marshall's seen in a long time. Back-to-back years. Somebody can string together a really good season, but to do it over the course of 2 seasons when you have expectations in the second one. You're like, oh, he did it this time. He better do it again.
Yeah.
So walk me through this. You just answered you got a question ahead of me somehow by telling me what the one thing was that sold you on Marshall with that great story and during the recruiting visit. So walk me through how you go from walk on who says, okay, this is where I want to be, to all conference linebacker by the time it's said and done.
Um, I guess I would say that when I first walked on, there was probably about 20 or so walk-ons, probably about 20, 20, 22, 25. By the time I graduated, there was only like 3 of us left. So that just goes to show how, throughout all those years, just started weeding people out. People went home. People couldn't take it. People had family issues. Things just happened, and it
Sure.
ended up being just 3 of us. When I came in, it was kind of like a shock to me because I just wanted to be so great, and it was like I don't even know how to explain it. Coach Doc, he didn't even know my name. He called me Beckley. So it's like nobody knew me and had to start from scratch again. Like I thought I had done really well at my high school.
Yeah.
And I thought I was one of the best players in the state.
Yeah.
And so, trying to learn the plays and trying to, these guys are bigger than you, stronger than you, faster than you. And the game was so much faster too. So yeah, I kind of just went in there with the mindset of I'm going to take somebody's spot. I'm going to take somebody's spot. And, I would go to workouts and outwork people, and guys would get kicked out who were on scholarship. And the strength coach at the time, Coach Sinclair, he would like stop the entire workout and be like, this kid's working his butt off and he's coming to take your spot. He's like, he's not even on scholarship and he's outworking you. He's like, he deserves a scholarship. And so that kind of motivated me to keep doing what I was doing. And then guys like, DJ Hunter, I kind of
love DJ. Love DJ.
I took to DJ because I felt like he was the closest guy whose spot I could take, because I didn't.
We're showing DJ love, and you're like, I could take his spot.
I didn't say that. I was gonna try. I was gonna try for sure. But DJ that's my man.
Yeah.
In front of him, I mean, beside him, you had Neville Hewitt,
Yep.
Jermaine Holmes,
Yep.
Evan McKelvey.
Yep.
So and I was I came in as a safety first of all. and I wasn't really getting much burn there. So then Coach Fuller moved me down into the box, and I kind of took to DJ. And DJ was kind of like, he took me under his wing and was, motivating me and saying like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, you're a goon. You're gonna be this. You're gonna be this. So I really respected him and I looked up to him, and so that's one of the reasons that I he's one of the people that I tried to emulate. Really, was him, and I told him, I was like, I'm coming for your spot, DJ. He'd be like, yeah, over my dead body, like type stuff. We used to go at it,
Yeah.
but it was all out of love. But I was definitely trying to come for a spot, and it made me who I was.
Yeah, I really like DJ. He's joined us on a couple of shows over the years, and it's always great to have him on. I can't really ever get enough of hearing, stories that he has and things he has to say. He puts things in perspective in a really great way, and you've just done a fabulous job of doing that, of giving me a little bit of insight into the mind of where you were at that point in your life, right? Because there's a lot riding on it, right? You just talked about um, having to make this opportunity count. And I mean, you're walking on, you're paying your own way. So you have to make the opportunity count. So being able to articulate that and let me in on where you're at, what you're thinking, and what's going on, it sounds like it's like, come hell or high water, I'm out working whoever's in front of me.
I did not care. I was on the third string, fourth string. I was just trying to work my way up, and I kind of just did it every day in practice. I would go down on the scout team and I would try to take people's heads off. I was trying to make sure I made good tackles and just being around the ball all the time. We'd be down there on the scout offensive team or for the scout defense, for the scout offense, we'd be down there and, guys would throw the ball and Coach Stock would tell us like to stay away from the offensive guys. But, I was always around it. So if they tipped the ball or dropped the ball, I was there trying to make a catch on it. Or if they dropped the ball, I would run over and just pick it up and scoop it and pretend I was running to the end zone. So it's just little things like that.
Hey man, you get it on film and they're like, look at this Hancock kid always hustling to the daggone ball.
That's what I was trying to do, man.
So
Build your habits.
I can respect that because that's how you differentiate yourself from guy number two. Like, Hancock's running to the damn ball every single time. This guy's stopping when the whistle blows. I can dig that, man. I think that is like the West Virginia kid attitude in a nutshell. You got to work a little bit harder than everybody else to earn that spot, and a little bit of an underdog. You don't feel like you're respected as much as your game should be, right? And the opportunities aren't there for some reason. I just love that, man. That just adds to the story for me. That adds to the legend of Chase Hancock for me, the story of Chase Hancock for me. I appreciate that story. Thank you for that. You were a part of some, I'm going to try to say this the nicest way I can, some roller coaster years, right, at Marshall. Some down and some bounce back years. Okay, you were a part of some pretty big wins, some pretty really some impressive wins over some good teams, and we let some slip away on some teams we probably should have beaten. So you've seen a lot of it. You've been through the ringer on a lot of different things. The emotions have gone all over the place. When you think about it, I ask guys and gals that are on the show, what are some of your favorite moments? And are there any games? Most folks, it seems like the theme is most of the athletes don't remember games. They're like, I remember other stuff. It's locker room stuff or weight room stuff. But, and I want to get to that. I really do. But do you have a game or two that when you go back to that time in your mind and you're like, man, that was a great time. That was a great season, or that was a great team. What are those one or two games or one or two moments, plays, whatever, that really stick out for you?
It was probably when we played Purdue, which was one of the biggest crowds in Marshall history. Like I said, I was on special teams, just kind of starting on special teams. And I just remember like running down, like first kickoff, and I get double teamed. And like, I didn't know how to take on a double team. I'd never done it before in a live scenario. We do it in practice and they teach you how to, try to split the double team and all that. But these dudes were like, 240, 220,
Big 10, right?
Yeah, I'm 195 pounds soaking wet, 205 pounds on paper.
Right.
But, so I was trying to split those guys. That was really fun. I thought I was doing something, but another play that would stand out or was when we played Louisville and how that was a big ordeal and they striped the stadium and
Mm-hmm.
I think game day did game day come? I don't even remember. Game
I
day
don't.
might have came.
No,
Um,
they weren't there. But man, what those are two phenomenal atmospheres that you're talking about there.
yeah, and so like it's lit, it's hype, you can't hear anything. I'm giving the directions to the linemen, saying like left, 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 right, 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 and they can't hear me. They're looking back at me, like waving their hand, like signaling, like what's the call? What's the call? And so I'm screaming at them, and you couldn't hear yourself think in that stadium. And then I sacked Lamar Jackson, so that was pretty cool to say.
Well, feather in the cap for
Yeah,
that one there.
yeah. You know, I had a even though we lost, I had a great game. So it was
Mm-hmm.
it was deflating because after we lost the game, we come and watch film, and we had a scoreboard, a point board, and my production points were pretty decent, but we lost the game, so it didn't even matter. Nobody
Yeah.
was really looking at it like that, but that was probably one of my best games. I had forced fumbles, um, recoveries on punts, and I punched the ball out one play, and a guy scooped it up and scored. So like there's a bunch of different games that I could think of, but those are two that kind of stick out to me.
Yeah, and I love that you went to immediately two of the most live crowds that have ever been at Jones C. Edwards Stadium. I was at both of those games, and it was I've been to lots of games over the years, and those two are top three, period, for me. I mean, I can't accurately say what the three are, but of the three, those are definitely two.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, when when you do think about those times now, we can share some stuff. I mean, you don't
Mhm.
have to get too personal. You don't have to tell tales on anybody. But what do you really think of when you think, man, that was a great time? And because I was talking about this with someone else on the show, and I said, as a fan, what you guys do is you give me memories, right? And I understand that as the athlete, as the player, you probably don't go back to the games. You go back to the times when it's a little bit more intimate. It's just you guys, and you can be yourselves, and you can cut up and have a good time. So wherever that is, what was it for you that always makes you smile when you think about that time at Marshall?
Think about those Friday workouts where we might have been in the off season or we weren't on the travel squad. So Coach Sinclair would kill us on those Friday workouts while the travel guys were getting ready for the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember coming in after those workouts and just dancing with guys like Jaquan Yulee, may he rest in peace,
Yeah.
dancing with him with the music, and it's Friday, baby, baby. So just things like that. We just always dancing and just being in the trenches with those guys day in and day out, and seeing them grow as people, and then yeah, those are things that I'll cherish forever.
In that moment, at that time, like literally when it happens, are you thinking like, man, this is absolute hell, or are you just loving it?
No, nobody's thinking that. You really don't appreciate it until after the fact.
Right. That's what I mean.
No, it's hell. That's what I'm saying. Like like I said, we started off with 25 walk-ons, and only 3 of us made it by the end of this, end of our senior year. So that just goes to show that it's not for everybody, and it is hell, but it builds you up, and it makes you a tougher player, and it prepares you for those game situations, those life situations that when things get hard, when your back's against the wall, just you gotta finish. You gotta keep going.
Yeah, you've been there before, right? You've been in that fire before. The older you get, do you feel like that becomes more of something in the forefront of your mind? You're like, you got to embrace the hell. You just got to. It's got to be something you can deal with. Does that become more of a focus for you, or something that you can appreciate more? Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. I mean, because it's coming. It's
Yeah,
coming. It's just a matter of when. So,
yeah,
it's gonna hit the fan one way or the other. You just gotta be ready for it. And and,
yeah,
and and maybe you're not ready for it, but you just have to, like you said, embrace it and just know that it's gonna, there's brighter days ahead. You just gotta weather the storm, however long that may be. And it's only for a season. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean that's just my look on it, how I look at it.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to do that, because if there are sayings that are old sayings for a reason because they're true, and it's like the old cliche: if it doesn't kill me, it makes me stronger. Well, it does, and if it doesn't mean physically stronger, it means with your character and with your
mentally.
fortitude, right?
Mhm.
You can, you don't get shaken easily. It doesn't matter. You're comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's such a huge part of adult life. As a college student, I didn't give a rip about that, because I thought life was hard. Like, man, I got to get to this 9 a.m. This is ridiculous, And now it's like you got a mortgage to pay, you got kids to feed, you got all this stuff. That's responsibility. Like dragging my ass to a 9 a.m. I'd do that again in a heartbeat. That's easy,
Yeah, yeah. I don't
you
know
know.
why it was so hard to get up for those classes. Because I mean, if you think about middle school or elementary, you're getting up at 6 a.m. to get to class, and
Yeah,
8 a.m. college classes hit different. I'm telling you, I don't know what it
never had
is.
one. Wouldn't know. Never
Oh
had one.
gosh, 9 a.m. ain't much better. 9 a.m. is
But
about the
it's an
same,
hour better.
just a little bit.
You played with a bunch of guys. Obviously, Louis has 100 and some guys on a roster or whatever it is. It's a big number, and it changes every single year. It's never the same collection of players from year over year. And all the great players that I've talked to and will continue to talk to on this show, of course, of which you are one, never do anything alone. They can never say, well, man, I had to do everything from the linebacking position, everything. I didn't have any help. They all credit, their teammates for putting them in a position to be able to perform. Okay. And as a Marshall fan, we know a lot of our players' names, especially the high performers. But who are those guys for you that will never just get credited the way that they should? They came to work every day, just like you. They came to work every day, and you said, Coach Doc didn't even know your name for a while. You know what I mean? So that kind of guy who, I noticed that because I was that guy. Who's those guys that will just never get the credit they deserve?
I'd say Cody Carter. And maybe he did towards the end of his, he didn't get put on scholarship till I don't think his senior year. He was
Mm-hmm.
also a walk on, again, a
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia guy.
Yep,
And he didn't,
Barbersville kid, right?
yeah, he didn't get put on until his senior year. So that's somebody who I think should have got credit a little bit sooner. He definitely should have been on scholarship sooner. Um, and then, I just think about all the walk on guys. Eli Gates. Eli Gates was a tough guy. Somebody who's in the trenches. He was a special teams contributor, but that's a tough dude. And if I'm in the trenches with somebody, I want Cody Carter. I want Eli Gates. Matthew Harless. I want those guys with me. And then I can say the same thing about Najee Johnson. He started to shine a little bit toward the end of his juniors and senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's playing with the Chiefs. But again, Malik Gant is another one. Malik
Mm-hmm.
Gant, another one that these are guys that consistently showed up day in and day out, and I don't know if they'll ever get the credit that they fully deserve.
Yeah, that's a really good list of names that you threw out there. The casual fan will probably not fully recognize what these guys bring to the table.
Yeah,
The guys that are a little bit more in tune, like I like to think I'm one of those guys. I have great respect for Nas Johnson. Great respect. I love the story. Walk on, all conference performer, like Burlsworth Trophy nominee. Love Nas. I love everything he did and the attitude he came with. Cody is another guy that I respect gratefully. I called him the missile because he just did not give a
he didn't care.
flying. He didn't care.
He finished the game. We talk about people always talk about. I remember that game when Barwin had his arms on his lineman and they're carrying him down the field with the broken. Cody, he played with like a ruptured spleen or something, and he finished the game. Like at the end of the game, he was peeing blood. So like that man is tough, and
Yeah.
and those are the type of guys that kind of make you tough and make sure that you stay on your game, and they just make you a well-rounded player all together.
I feel like you probably did that for some of the guys, like before you were the guy. When you're in the weight room and Scott Sinclair, who's another guy I really have a lot of respect for, is like Hancock's outworking you guys. This, kind of like, what the hell? Step your game up. So I feel like you were that guy before you were the guy, right? There were people like, man, I can't have this. I can't be getting outworked. I can't be getting called out. Boy, if I would trade all the stats in the world to have that, to be the answer to that question I just asked you. Like, because that means your peers have noticed. The crowds may not notice, but the guys you lined up with, the guys you shared a locker room with, that's the respect you want, right?
Yeah,
Fan
Yeah,
respect is great. It
yeah.
really is. I mean, that's what this show's all about, bringing you guys closer to each other, but peer respect is paramount. Would you agree?
I think that's what made me get on scholarship that much better because it's like Hancock. I don't know how you're not on scholarship yet. Like keep working and just because I mean some of the coaches would give it to me every now and then. Like Coach Heater would huddle us up at the end of practice, and he would point out, that I was working hard or had a great practice today, and to keep working, and they would clap it up for me. And but to hear it from my teammates um, made me feel like I was like that much closer. Like if I could just keep going,
Yeah.
maybe one more day, and then maybe I'll get put on scholarship. Just one
Yeah.
more practice, one more something. So just hearing it from them reassured me that I'm going to be on scholarship soon, and I deserve to be. Because these are guys that I play with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The coaches they can play whoever, but to know that the guys who are on the field playing right now and they're saying like, man, Hancock, you just keep working, you're gonna get what you deserve.
Yeah.
So that felt really good.
I bet it did, man. That's something that I'll never know. I just wasn't blessed that way with very much athleticism. I just wasn't. And my career in athletics ended in high school, and that's okay.
That is okay. That's all
Quite
right.
all right by me.
Yes, sir.
Never a football player. Never. I was never a anything. I mean, I was a baseball player. Suspect at best. But it fueled my fandom, right? Because I would sit in the stands, and by the time you came along, I was already well into my alumni years. Let's put it that way. So I was well past any type of athletic competitive nature. So I was still, and I still do this to this day. I sit in the stands and I'm like, man, look at what these guys are able to do. And you would go to the weight room and you would put in all this work, and you would hone your body for this season, this marathon of a season, which I also think falls under the radar for so many people that they don't realize the season is long. For me, it's 12 games, 13 games that I just show up and watch and cheer. And it's like, it's 3 months. What's the big deal? 4 months. What's the big deal? But for you, it's not 12 games, 13 games. It's every day. It's weight room. It's practice. It's meals. It's every day.
Every day.
How do
Every
you
day.
go through that? Basically, I don't even know if I can say this the right way, because you're going to play injured. Everybody plays hurt.
Yeah.
So how do you stay functional? How do you stay that? How do you say it? How do you remain able to play? Is it luck?
A little bit of luck, a little bit of grace, God's grace for sure. But I've definitely been hurt a lot in my career. But you got to push through it. I mean, there's nobody else. There's nobody else. So the coach used to tell us, especially during camp, when camp was 2 weeks long, we would have 2 days. Now it's a week long now, and you have maybe 1 or 2 practice. They stopped practicing us as much.
Yeah.
More so recently because people were falling out and dying and all that. But back then,
Back then, listen to you.
when I was in school, when I was there, when I was
Yeah.
playing, we had 2 days, and people would have pulled hamstrings, pulled groins, and it's just the coach used to tell us just to suck it up. Because there was nobody else.
Yeah.
The next guy was the third or fourth guy, the new guy who just came in, the transfer, who didn't have the grades, or so there wasn't anybody else, and that's kind of how it always was. And then that also teaches you to fight through injury and to just have that fighting mentality.
Yeah. I can't imagine. It's all day, every day, and even when you're resting, do
You're
you
not resting.
really ever get rested?
No,
I mean,
your body hurts all the time.
yeah.
You really should live in a training room, even if you're not hurt. You should live in a training room, just stretching and ice tubs, hot tubs, foam rolling. All that's there. And a lot of schools, a lot of guys don't even have that.
Yeah.
So for those listening, if you're a player or you have somebody who plays, tell them to live in that way in the training room in a good way. Not even if you're not hurt, go sit in the training room, get a heating pad, do something. But like you said, it's a marathon, and it starts in the off season, really in the summer when we don't go home to see our families. We don't go anywhere. We're right on campus taking summer classes day in and day out. You
Mm-hmm.
work out in the morning, you go to class, you come back and do another workout, and it's just on repeat. And that's probably why, a lot of players don't remember the games or anything,
That's a good
because it's
point.
like everything just blows by and you're so used to doing it day in and day out. Some of the details kind of get lost. But it's definitely a marathon. It starts in the summer, then you work in play in the season, fall camp, play in the season. After the season's over, it's winter conditioning, then it's right into spring ball, and you just repeat it. So there's really no downtime at all.
I mean, none. I mean, I understand. Like you got to have like a week or two in there to where you're like, I got to use this time to rest. I can't go do something. I got to get ready for this next line of ass kicking that's coming my way.
I'm sure we did get about a week off, but
Yeah.
that week just blows by so fast
Yeah.
because you're like you wake up in the middle of the night like, oh, I got to be at workouts or something. And having nightmares and dreams and waking up in a panic like I need to be somewhere because you're so used to that schedule. But I mean, even on the break though, you're still working out. Even on your week break or however long of a break we get, you're still working out. You're still training. You're still focused on your nutrition. So it's really just like a rest. It's not even a full rest. It's I don't even know what to call it.
Yeah. Just
Um,
downtime, right? It's just downtime.
just a little bit. It's kind of like that downtime after at halftime. You got like 10 minutes, and then you got to go right back out and play again. That's kind of what it's like for real, for real.
It's halftime on a year-long scale.
It's
It's 10
halftime.
minutes of a year, like you get a week. That's the
Yeah,
equivalent to
that's
10
right.
minutes of a football game.
That's right.
Jeez. So knowing what you know now, and being through what you've gone through, how your journey has gone, your path has led you to this point in life. You go back and you think about high school senior Chase. You think about freshman at Marshall Chase, and you have an opportunity to go back and talk to that guy. What do you tell that Chase at that time? What wisdom do you share?
I would tell them that you're built for this, um, and to keep going, to keep pushing, and I'll just reassure them that you're built for this, and there's a reason that you're here. Um, you know, it's not a coincidence. There's a reason that you had sweaty hands on your recruiting visit. There's a reason that people knew your name and shook your hand whenever you came to the recruiting visit. There's a reason that you're a walk on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's to inspire those to follow you, which hopefully it did. The Malik Gants, the Najee Johnsons, the Tyler Browns, the Dominique Murphys, just all those guys. I'm sure. I hosted a visit once, and the guy that I hosted, he came to Marshall because of me. He told me that he had been to all these other places. He's a Florida guy. He had been to all these other places, and he said, "I came here because of you." So I would just tell, you know, younger me, you're built for this, and to keep going.
Very, very, very poignant advice, right? If only we could actually go back and say, hey, it's cool, man. You're meant to be here.
Just
Like,
breathe.
work, work, and have a little faith. It'll
Yep.
be all right. It'll be all right. You were also fortunate to play for a really decorated defensive coordinator, Chuck Heater. And we've talked about some other guys. We mentioned DJ before. And in talking with him and the times I've talked to him, he always has something that he talks about with Chuck Heater, right? And I love these. This is some of my favorite things to hear because we know coaches just by nature have these great sayings. So what any of your, it doesn't have to be Coach Heater, but who of your coaches, and it doesn't even have to be at Marshall, which coaches had these sayings that you still say today? Like unloading the dishwasher and something goes wrong and you're like, bam, that was straight from Coach such and such's mouth. And I can't believe I just said that. What are you still saying to this day?
I'm gonna go with one of my high school coaches, and then I'm gonna
Okay.
go to Chuck Heater, Coach Heater. All right. So one of my high school coaches, he would always say, it's a business trip. He said, pack your lunch boxes. It's a business trip. So he'd always say that whenever we're on the bus traveling to the games, and then with Coach Heater, he would always be like, strain, you gotta strain, you're not straining. And and he'd also say like, you want to be a guy, that's a guy right there. He would point at like, Neville Hewitt making a tackle, or DJ, you know, running in with his head down and hitting somebody, sacking them. So he would always say that. So I would even say that to myself when I was at rookie mini camp.
Yeah.
Strain, you got to strain. I'd be on the other side of the field, and the ball be way on the other sideline, and I'd strain. So,
I love the fact that I'm getting like the impression too. I'm getting like,
oh man, everybody who played under Coach Heater, that's a good man. He
yeah.
yelled. Sometimes he would yell, and you wouldn't even know what he was saying. He'd just be in that voice, and that's like, Coach, what are you saying?
I like that. Yeah, you want to be a guy. I like
yeah,
that.
he said you want to be a guy, and this is what you have to do. He laid it out for us. If you want to be a guy, a guy who's consistent, a guy who shows up, a guy who's a playmaker, and he would say not an a-hole. He would say, don't be an a-hole. Don't be an a-hole. Be a guy. And then he was like, he would point at you and be like, that's a guy right there, or he's a guy. You should be like him. So, Coach Heater, that's that man.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's probably the best of all the ones. That's probably top 2 so far. That's really good.
Ask anybody who played under Coach Heater to do an impression of him.
Well, moving forward, when I get guys from the Coach Heater era of defenses, that'll be a new staple on Inside the Thunder.
I'll have your best Coach Heater impression.
Yeah, like Chase Hancock said, I have to get your best Chuck Heater impression before you get out of here. When you think back to that time, you're a few years removed from the game now, and get to celebrate life as a Marshall alum. But now that you've had a little bit of time to reflect, as an adult and not a college student, what is it that is remained special about Marshall to you, and what do you miss most about that time? I have those things, but what are those things for you?
I definitely miss walking around the stadium with our head up, with our hands up. I mean, and just touching the fans' hands as we walk around the entire stadium, and it's just watching, the cheerleaders and the band and everybody on the field like cheering us on, especially after a win. There's nothing like that. Everybody's, you're just walking through that crowd of cheerleaders and dance team and band members. And everybody's looking at you, and it's just a really good feeling. And then, just giving towels away, giving gloves away to the little kids, and hey, can I have your autograph? Can you sign this? Can I get a towel? Those are things that I definitely miss. I miss those things for sure.
Yeah, I bet. I never got to do that. I'm the guy standing there. Hey, give me.
Hey, I'm backing you up every game too. Like, give me some.
I used to take my son with me because those were moments that I wanted him to have and to remember. As a little guy. I took him out. This was 100% not for me, but I took him with me to the 2014 conference title game, and I was like, man, we win this thing. I know they're going to take this goalpost down, and he's going to be 10 years old or however old he was, 12 years old. And I'm going to make sure he gets to carry that goalpost out of here. And he did, and he's still, he'll talk about that. He'll be like, I remember doing that. And I remember carrying it to the steel mill. I mean, you can see, wait, let me go that way. It's right there.
Yeah,
see, there's right there.
Yep.
And he got his piece and I got my piece. And, that was a moment. And you guys gave that to me to be able to give to him. That's the type of stuff that I'm grateful for. That you guys probably don't ever hear, like, thanks for helping create a memory for my son. Yeah. Right. I'm forever appreciative of stuff like that.
And because that's special. That's special.
Yeah, it is. So those are the things you guys don't realize that you do, or you might realize it, but it's also nice to hear it.
Yeah, it is nice to hear for sure. I also miss, just the fans, the loving environment, just the history of the school, what we stand for, what we're about, our why. You visit other schools, and even as I'm an adult now, even as an adult, you visit other schools, you go to all these other places, and every school has their tradition, every school has their thing, but there's no school that touches Marshall and its traditions And I stand by that. There's no school. I'm sorry, and that's no disrespect to any other college or any other school, but there's no school like Marshall, and I don't. There never will be, and
Yeah.
that's what makes Marshall so special.
That's very true. I'm willing to stand on that hill with you, and I think, of course, everybody and that's a Herd fan will do that too. But if you're on the outside looking in, I think it would be hard for you to choose school X over Marshall when it comes to the story
Mhm.
and the traditions and how we approach that. It's
Yeah,
one thing to have it,
right,
but Marshall doesn't like cash in on it. You know what I
right.
mean? It's like it has this level of respect that's
Mhm.
paid. And I really like this year, that we made the transition from calling it like a memorial week to like a celebration type thing, because we started to embrace more so the other side of that coin, which is the
Yeah,
young thundering herd and the rebuilding of the program. And that's it's equally important of a part of the story, right? Because you're not sitting here talking to me if that doesn't happen.
that's right. That's right. I never would have went to Marshall. I never.
No one would have.
So it,
No football player would have, because there would
yeah,
have been no team to play. So I really like that. That's you know, it's a little shift in focus that puts more shine on the entire story.
yes, sir.
I love that. I really love that. Let's talk about some cool stuff before I get you out of here. I don't
Okay.
want to take up your entire Friday night.
Hey, we
Okay,
can talk all night. I got all the time in the world.
I appreciate that. I like it when people say that, because that means a couple things to me. A, I'm not annoying,
Nah, nah.
and B, you're having a good time.
I am. I absolutely am.
But I don't want to tell all the stories, because maybe you'll want to do this again sometime in a couple
Yeah,
of years and we'll do it again. Or maybe
yeah.
you want to do it just whatever. So I don't want to tell all the stories. I don't want to ask all the questions tonight,
I got
even though,
plenty. Now
even
you'll never ask all of them. I got so many stories.
well, I am here to hear them all. I can never get enough of this stuff. I'm like the biggest Marshall nerd ever. But let's talk about some of the cool stuff, right? Because you're a younger guy, you're a Conference USA era guy, and we're fresh off of that. Fresh. It's first year in the Sun Belt, just got wrapped up as far as football goes. I mean, we're still in the thick of it for some of the other sports.
Mhm.
Um, what about those slick helmets that they wore this year for that damn for the 75-week game?
I love them. I love them.
Whoa,
And
that
I've been saying we need those helmets for a while. We were trying to get them even when I was there, when DJ was there.
yeah.
We finally got the black jerseys, and
Hmm.
we were like, we just need to do all black. We need black helmets, and I'm just glad that Coach Huff was able to do that, because that's a cold look.
It's
It's
slick as
clean.
hell,
It's
isn't it?
clean. It's
Yeah.
clean.
It's slick. That to me became the nicest like design that we've ever put out. Um, the white one, I can't do this the right way. I'm always pointing the wrong. The white one right there is the one from 2017 that they debuted with the first time with the names in the stripe.
And then the
That's
young thundering herd. I,
that.
I, I love that logo too.
Yeah, that's
That's
one
one of
of
my favorites.
mine. That's what that one is. It's a direct replica of that year, the 2017, or maybe it's 2019 helmet, whatever it was. Was it 2019? I don't know. But that black helmet, I don't own one, as you can see. It would be prominently displayed behind me. But man, that is so slick. It's my favorite logo of all time. The Young Thundering Herd helmet, or the logo. I love it.
I definitely appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, it's so cool. And now we talked a little bit about this before we went live, but NIL is a thing, and some people feel some type of way about it, positively and negative. I kind of would tend to think that you are on the I like it type thing, because you've been in that and you've faced some of the things that you've had to face, and it probably would have been nice. I mean, I was a broke ass college student, and I wasn't busting my butt in the weight room. So what do you think? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
Nah, it's definitely a good thing, and
Yep.
it's well overdue for sure. If you think about how much money the NCAA makes, there's no reason that they could trickle some of that down to the student athletes. But I mean, some of the players now are even making more than the coaches, and I think it's crazy to think about, because
It
like you
is.
said, I just missed it by a year or two.
Hmm.
I graduated in 18, and then COVID hit for those 2 years, and then they was kind of messing around with NIL and all that. And I was blessed to be on the billboards and the posters,
That's
so
true.
I feel like I definitely could have you know did a little something.
I think so too. You have the
NIL.
story, right?
I think I could have did a little something, and
Yeah.
definitely giving back for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely would have given back, but yeah, I just missed it. But I'm glad that the players are starting to get it. I just wish I had my little shot, you know. But I mean, guys were talking about that, you know, 10 years ago. I asked some of the older generation,
Mhm.
and they're like, yeah, you know, it's great. They were excited about being able to see them on the video games,
Yeah.
NCAA. If you update the rosters, you can see some of the players and things like that. But and I think that's why they haven't made another one either, because they don't want to pay the players. There's something to it.
They're
There's something
working on
to
it.
it.
That's part of it. Yes,
Right.
they're working out that type of language in these contracts now,
Yeah.
so that they can actually put, Chase Hancock in the game on the roster for
Yeah.
2024 or whatever it is. But yes, that's part of it.
Eh,
But we'll get it. It's in the works. It's coming. We talked about it on the ThunderCast a couple times. It was supposed to be this summer. Now it's going to be summer 2024. I went out and bought a freaking PS5 last year because I was amping. I was like, I ain't played a damn video game in 10 years. I better get ready.
Yeah.
I stopped
Nah.
playing when they stopped making college football. That was
Yeah.
it for me.
I haven't played in a long time either. So I mean, these are my Turtle Beaches right here. I had to dig these out of the closet.
You said,
But yeah, I had a bunch of dust on them. I had to reset the head. My head got a little bit bigger.
dang. No, I went and did spend some dang on money expecting to play freaking NCAA football, and now I got to wait a whole nother year. So
It's kind of like GTA.
whatever.
GTA keeps releasing games.
Now I use the PS5 to watch ESPN Plus to watch the herd play, which is awesome.
That's adulting, you know.
I guess.
Priorities.
I guess. At least it's easier to watch the herd play now in the Sun Belt instead of having. I needed to back in the I say back in the day. It was just last year. We needed to have like 7 streaming services and a Facebook account just to watch Marshall.
Hoops and loops you had to jump through. My mom used to get so mad. I don't know how many fake emails she made to watch me play.
Yeah, same. Same. I was like, I'll do a 7-day trial of Tubi TV so I can watch the herd play this week.
And you better make sure you cancel them too, because that's how they get you.
Look, we're getting all the hacks away here, man. We're going to turn these folks on to what we're doing, and then what are we going to do? But shit, man, you can't be giving all the secrets away. Dang. Look, I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with you. This has been a tremendously enjoyable conversation, and I can't thank you enough for joining me. What I love to do to kind of close out these shows is I just shut up. I turn the mic over to you and I let you say whatever the hell you want. You get an open forum. I don't care. You can say whatever you want to whoever you want. Just try to keep it PG.
Oh, that's never been a problem for me.
Yeah, no, I trust you wholeheartedly, but I like to be able to do this, to give our athletes, they have a platform to say whatever they want to say to whoever they want to say. So have at it, and then we'll work on getting you your Friday back.
I just would like to say thank you for having me, first of all. Thank you for allowing me to play at Marshall. Thank you for allowing me to get my education through Marshall. It's all been a blessing. And I look back, and it's weird being an alum now. Tailgates are a thing now that I'm supposed to go to. I'm still trying to get the hang of that. I'm just thankful for everything, all the experiences, all the people who have helped me get to where I'm at. Shout out to the Big Green again. Thank you for allowing me to get on scholarship. That really helped me and my family. I had one of my brothers just graduate. So, that was, he got a scholarship at UCF, but he just graduated. My younger brothers are on their way to graduate. And so I don't think that would have been possible had I not gotten the scholarship when I did. So I just feel blessed, and I'm honored to be in the conversation of being, one of the greats. I think I'm good. I think I contributed well, but I'm just blessed to be in the mix of it all, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. But yeah, go herd, baby.
Anytime. You don't need an invite, right? All you have to do is hit us in the DMs and say, "Hey, man, can I get on the ThunderCast?" And I'd like to come on, talk herd football, and we make it happen, dude. That's it. It's our show. We do whatever the hell we want. So if you want to come on, we'll make it happen.
Yes, sir.
We're about to hit football season like head on here, because spring's coming up. We'll be doing position group breakdowns just like we always do, and we'll be talking about everybody. So anytime you want to come on the show, we'll make it happen. I mean, we would love to have you on the show.
I appreciate it. I'll definitely be tuned in too. I'm watching.
Yeah, well, good. I'll let you know, obviously, of course, whenever this goes up. But I appreciate the humbleness of considering yourself to be a performer and not one of what you consider to be one of the greats. You're one of the greats for me. And I know you are one of the greats for a lot of Herd fans, particularly those Conference USA era fans that grew up, those students at that time, those young kids at that time that grew up watching Chase Hancock make play after play. This has just been incredibly fun, man. And we will do it again for sure. I am KD Hudnall. That is Chase Hancock. And this is Inside the Thunder. We'll see you next time. Later.